Hi, I'm Jason Curtin with Outdoor Adventures, and we know that a lot of you are cooped up at home right now wishing you were outside. What we've got for you today is a set of videos that explore the finer points of top rope anchor building, which is a must-needed skill set for anybody who's aspiring to take their climbing game from indoors to outdoors. And so we hope that you'll stick around for all of the videos. We're going to explore several different ways to build anchors, different ways to evaluate anchors, that sort of thing. One thing to know is that while this is a big skill set that is necessary for safe outdoor climbing, it is not every skill that's necessary for outdoor climbing. There's a lot more to add to your toolkit. This is just one of those tools that you'll need. Now, it's up to every climber to get the education they need and to make the risk management decision for themselves on whether or not to climb outdoors. And so we hope that you'll add this piece to your toolbox, but we also hope that you'll continue your climbing education and learn more and more in order to be safe on the rocks. But before you even get to the anchor building, you really need to know about how to evaluate the hardware that you're going to encounter in the outdoors, because that's equally as important as the gear that you're attaching to it. And that's one of the first things we're going to talk about before we even get started with the anchor building. So I'm going to get the camera to zoom in a little bit on these anchors. This hardware that you see on this board as we go down is really indicative of the types of hardware that you're going to find in a lot of sport climbing areas in Texas and elsewhere. Now, the good thing we know about the Texas climbing area is that there's a great bolt and anchor replacement initiative. That means that there's a lot of folks going around every year checking on this hardware, checking on these bolts, checking on the bolt hangers, and replacing them when needed. But as you're coming up to the top of a climb and you see this kind of hardware, the things you want to be looking for are these bolt hangers rusty? Are they stamped with a factory symbol that indicates that they were built somewhere that is testing this gear? Is there rust streaks coming on the rock out from under the bolt, indicating some level of deterioration of the bolt or of the hardware? Is the bolt hanger spinning? Can you pull the bolt out either partially or fully? Any of those kind of symptoms that you would see would indicate some level of problem with the hardware. Now, as we talk about this hardware, let's take a look at these two bolt hangers first. You'll notice these are much thicker and a little bit different colored than the rest. These super thick bolt hangers are called Metolius wrap bolts, and they're called that because you can actually put your rope directly through these anchors and rappel off of them without compromising the integrity of the rope. You're not going to see these a lot in the Austin climbing area, but if you're a Texas climber climbing out at Enchanted Rock out near Fredericksburg or near Llano, Texas, you are going to encounter bolt hangers much like these. These two next bolt hangers that we see as we go to the left are Fixie sport clips. They have not only a thin bolt hanger, which is pretty typical for the tops of climbs, but each of them also has a wrap ring, a rappel ring, and that's a place where you can run your climbing rope directly through that, and like that Metolius wrap anchor, these can be rappelled directly on. But they also have these two metal clips that you can clip into, right? So when you get to the top of a climb, if you lead up that climb and your intention is to lower off and then pull the rope, you can simply drop your lead rope into these two clips and then lower down. The next ones we find, as I take my gear off here, these are really run-of-the-mill, typical Petzl bolt hangers. They're a thin bolt hanger, but in Texas many times, especially in the 80s and 90s, you would see these same bolt hangers outfitted with what you see here, which is a steel quick link, sometimes even with a length of chain, and the idea was that you would actually run your rope through that length of chain in order to rappel down. Now, what that meant was you would have to take your rope off at the top of a climb, and there's a whole series of skills that you would have to build for that. But you sometimes still encounter this type of hardware at the tops of climbs in the Central Texas or Austin, Texas climbing areas. The other anchor we have here is often what you see at the top of a commercial climbing gym or inside of a climbing gym. Occasionally you will run into hardware that looks like this at the top of a climb, and these again are fixed sport clips that you can simply drop your rope into and then lower off. Now, whether or not you want to build an anchor will really depend on what your plan is at the top of a climb. Are you going to climb up to the top and then lower back down, hand the lead rope to your partner and allow them to lead climb up? If so, then you may not even need to build an anchor. But if what your plan is to instead climb to the top and set up a permanent anchor for the day, or not permanent anchor, but an anchor for the day for you and your partner and maybe other people in your party to use over and over and over again, well, maybe you do want to build an anchor. Because if you don't, simply clipping your rope into these two sport clips and then running that rope back and forth over the anchor repeatedly is going to wear down this metal prematurely. And when you're top roping, cyclical running of that rope over the hardware is going to occur. So I would argue that it's at that point when you've decided you want to top rope for the afternoon or for the day or for the morning or several different cycles over a set of anchors, well, that's when you need to build your own anchor, and we'll talk about that next. There's a lot of different schemes in order to do that.